In this brief video, we will be discussing the Self-Sufficiency Standard for South Carolina and how it is advancing the common good for working families. The United Way Association of South Carolina wanted to know what it took families in South Carolina to make ends meet. They partnered with the University of Washington Center for Women's Welfare to produce a county-by-county study of the real cost of living for working families. The result is a comprehensive, credible, and user-friendly tool. What is the Self-Sufficiency Standard? The Self-Sufficiency Standard defines how much income a family of a certain composition in a given place needs to adequately meet their basic needs, without public or private assistance. The Self-Sufficiency Standard reviews what 152 different family types in each county of South Carolina need to make it to be self-sufficient. Income adequacy is based on the cost of basic needs for working families, including housing, childcare, food, healthcare, transportation, taxes, and more. This can be seen as an alternative to the federal poverty level. The federal poverty level is a 4-decade-old calculation based on the cost of food and assumes that food is 1/3 of a family's budget. By contrast, the standard is based on the cost of all basic needs of a working family. Unlike the federal poverty level's one-size-fits-all model, these costs vary, not just by size of the family and number of children, but also by the age of the children. This is important as some costs, particularly childcare, differ dramatically by age. In a world that has been rapidly changing since the inception of the federal poverty level, it may be time for a new toolbox. In South Carolina, the amount needed to be economically self-sufficient varies considerably by geographic location. For instance, the amount needed to make ends meet for one adult and one preschooler varies from about $12 per hour in Lawrence County to about $18 per hour in Beaufort County. The standard also varies by family type, that is, by how many adults and children are in a family and the age of each child. One adult living in Greenville County needs an hourly wage of about $9 to meet basic needs. For families with children, the amount needed to cover basic needs increases considerably. If the adult has a preschooler and a school-aged child, the amount necessary to be economically secure nearly doubles, increasing to about $18 per hour in order to cover the cost of childcare, a large housing unit, and increased food and healthcare costs. For families with young children, the cost of housing and childcare combined typically account for approximately 50% of the family's budget. For example, for a family with 2 adults, 1 infant, and 1 preschooler in Greenwood County, childcare is 25% of the family's budget, while housing is 18%. Food costs take up 18%, healthcare is 15%, and transportation is 14% of the family's budget. The 2016 Self-Sufficiency Standard for Columbia is more expensive than comparably sized southern cities. The Self-Sufficiency Standard for 1 adult and 1 preschooler in Columbia is slightly more expensive than Savannah, Georgia, and Gainesville, Florida. The federal poverty level for 3-person families is set at a level well below what is minimally needed to meet a family's basic needs. For example, the federal poverty measure is 44% of the standard for 1 adult, 1 preschooler, and 1 school-aged child in Beaufort County. Although nearly a quarter of South Carolina workers hold one of the top 10 most common occupations in South Carolina, only one of these occupations has median wages above the standard for a family of 3 in Aiken County. Registered nurses, whose median wage is $17.75 per hour, hold the only self-sufficient wage for Aiken County for this family type. All 9 of the other occupations fall below the self-sufficient wage for a family of 3. This is true for all counties in South Carolina for this family type. The Self-Sufficiency Standard is currently used to better understand issues of income adequacy, analyze policy, and help individuals striving to become self-sufficient. Community organizations, academic researchers, foundations, policy institutes, legal advocates, training providers, community action agencies, and state and local officials, among others, are using the Self-Sufficiency Standard. As South Carolina continues to recover from the Great Recession, long-term economic prosperity will require responsible action at the state and community level that puts all South Carolina families on the path to self-sufficiency. By utilizing the Self-Sufficiency Standard, South Carolina has the opportunity to lay the foundation to achieve a strong workforce and thriving communities.